Hey YouTube. Today I'm not going to be doing a tutorial. I'm going to be doing like a tips and tricks kind of video. Little techniques that might come useful and make your guitar playing sound better. I'm going to be talking about palm mutes, shuffling, hammer-on pull-offs, tapping, natural harmonics, pinch harmonics, bends, that kind of stuff. This video is going to be intended for beginner and advanced beginner players. So if you're more on the advanced side, you probably know most of this stuff, and if that's the case, go watch something else. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to start with palm muting. If you listen to rock or metal, any kind of heavy music, you probably heard it before. This is what it sounds like. Okay. A lot of songs use that. What this is doing is I'm using my right hand, this side part of my arm, and I'm putting it right where the string starts on the tailpiece. Okay. Don't push down on it too hard because it's going to bend the strings, or you're not going to get a lot of sound to start with. And if you play it up here too much, it's going to sound different. It's going to be like, okay, compared to, you want some sustain. Okay, so try to find that sweet spot. And it usually sounds better, crisp, and sharper if they're done in down picking compared to alternate. You get more control also. Okay. Next thing is shuffling, or I've heard people call it scratch picking. In Japan they call it cutting. I recommend overdrive for this, so I'm going to switch to overdrive. It's something that sounds like, okay, that stuff. If you're a fan of Deer and Gray, you probably know Red M, the intro. Okay. This takes right hand and left hand coordination. The scratched part is just muted. Okay, so okay. Every time it does that part where you can actually hear the notes clearly, I'm fretting down like a regular chord. This part is when I release the frets, but my finger's still on it. Okay. Okay. At the same time, a little trick that I do is I'm also muting with my right hand also. It sounds cleaner. This is without the mute. With the right hand. Okay, so compared to, okay, okay, this one takes a little more coordination, but once you get used to it, then it'll become real natural. Okay. Also, if you're using pedals, you want to use a compressor. Helps a lot. And if you're using delay, try to keep it at a short delay instead of a long delay. And it's because you want the notes to be distinct on each note. So just mess around with the knobs a little bit and try to find that sweet spot, and then you should get it. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to distortion now. Okay, next one is gonna be hammer-on and pull-offs. Okay, this one's probably the hardest one I'm gonna do today. Okay, this is if I alternate pick, it's gonna be compared to hammer-on and pull-off. Okay. Okay, the hammer-on part should come naturally. I'm just, hammering on, like, okay. The pull-off part's usually the harder one. I'm gonna pull the string downward and kind of flick it off, so it's gonna sound like, okay. Okay. Okay, try to do it on different strings. Okay, like the last one I just did, it sounded like the string bent, right? See, when you don't do it well, that's what it sounds like. Especially on the first string, sometimes I tend to pull the string off the fretboard. Okay, so be careful for that. This one takes a lot of practice to actually get good at, especially if you're gonna do you know, like fast picking solos. You definitely have to know how to do these. So put some practice into that one. Next one's gonna be natural harmonics. Okay, that would be this. Okay. This one you could probably find a lot of videos on how to do it, but I'll teach it anyways. Basically, let's say for the G string or the third string, okay, the string in the middle, I'm gonna put my finger. I'm gonna be using the 5th fret for an example because it's one of the easier ones. What I do is right before I pick, I'm leaving my finger on the actual fret, but I'm not holding down to fret the actual note. Okay, so if I fret the actual note, it's gonna be, okay, I'm just keeping it on top, and right after I pick, I let go. Okay, and it sounds like, okay, works on different frets also. A lot of people tune their guitars doing natural harmonics on the 12th fret. Okay. Another way you can do it, if you're a fan of I don't know who, Andy Timmons, he picks it and then he flicks. What he's doing is basically 12 frets higher than the actual note you're playing. Okay, so it's gonna be like, oops. Okay, I don't think you'll be using this a lot, but just, you know, it's cool that you know it, I guess. It's actually pretty hard. I'm not used to it. I never used it before, but that's a natural harmonic. Okay, and then here comes a pinch harmonic. If you saw my Despair's Ray Horizon video, there was a part in the solo where it goes, okay, that's a pinch harmonic. How I'm doing that is holding the pick really close to your, to your finger. So right after I pick the string, I'm touching the string with my thumb. So, okay. So it's like I'm picking twice almost. First pick would be with the guitar pick, and the second one would be with my finger. Don't touch it too much to the point where it mutes it. Where it's gonna sound like that. Okay. So I remember trying to get this to work. I practiced this for like 2 weeks straight until I actually got it. You can do it on different strings, on different frets. Some strings are harder, some frets are harder. And where you pick is actually important. Usually the best part is right between the two pickups in the middle, around the middle, because if you pick it up here or down here, it's actually going to sound different. For example, I'm going to pick the 5th fret on the G string. G string is actually the easiest string for me. Okay, so this is in the middle. This is towards the neck. This is towards the bridge. Okay, so it sounds different. Okay, that was all the same string on the same fret. Okay, the fatter strings are harder. And the thin strings are harder also. So this takes a lot of practice, especially to be able to do it, right in between, like. Okay, whatever. Anyways, okay, so that's that. Bends. Okay, bends. You want to bend up, for the most part at least, one whole note. So if I'm going to bend on the 7th fret of the G string, I want it to sound like the note on the 9th fret. Okay, so I want to achieve this sound. So I'm going to bend up. Okay, for this, I've seen a lot of beginner guitarists not bend enough or bend too much. Okay, if I don't bend enough, it's okay. Bend too much. Okay, sounds different. Sounds bad actually. Okay, so try to bend up to the note you're trying to get to. Okay, if you want to just do a half step bend, then you want that sound then. that's fine. But if you want the whole step, okay, so use that. Okay, another cool trick would be to bend and add a note to it. Okay, so it's gonna be like that. Okay, so for this I'm going to use the 5th fret on the 2nd string. I'm going to bend that up a whole note. And while I'm bending, I'm going to add my pinky to the 5th fret on the first string. Okay? And the key to this is keeping the 2nd string sustained when you get to the picking of the 1st string. Okay. Oops. Okay, that comes in handy. Another one is to, like for the hammer on and pull off, I was saying when you hammer on and pull off, right? If you use your right hand to do that, you can do like a tapping solo like Van Halen. Okay. And you can even you can even do that kind of stuff. Okay, so that'll be the bends. Make sure you're bending up a whole note or a half note, you know, wherever you're trying to get. Okay, another thing is I think it's called like a unison choking. It's like, okay, that is basically you're playing 2 of the same notes on different strings, so it sounds like that. With one string it's going to be and. Okay, so I want to bend up to that note. Okay, so I'm going to be bending the 2nd string up while I'm picking the 1st string also. So I'm actually picking 2 strings at the same time. Okay, you've probably heard that before in some songs. Okay, that's very handy. That was never taught to me. I had to figure that out myself also. You can do it on different strings too. You can do it on the 3rd string and the 2nd string. Okay, and another thing, if you're bending, you want to bend with 3 fingers, or 2, but 3 recommended. Okay, so the actual finger that's going to be fretting the note, and you're going to be adding your middle finger and index finger just as support, so it's easier to bend. I leave my pinky out, so you know, if I'm going to do the choke and note, I want that extra finger for that note. Okay, I've seen people bend with their pinkies. I don't know how they do it, but I really don't recommend that too much. Okay. Okay, so I think that does it pretty much. Oh, one more thing. When you're starting a solo, let's say the solo starts with, okay, instead of just picking the note, you want to add that noise. Okay, it's kind of like the scratch pick I told you. The strings are muted except the note that I'm gonna play, or the string that I'm gonna play. So it's, you know, it's kind of hard. Okay. Okay, so try to get that in. Especially if you're doing the 2 string, it sounds better. If I don't do the scratch pick thing, it's gonna be, okay, add it in. Sounds better. Okay, and one more thing. When people do that thing, try to fret like 3 strings instead of 1. That's 1 string. That's multiple strings. Like Luna C, I for you. Okay, instead of, sounds better. Yeah, so that's about it. Maybe some of you found this video to be pointless. I hope it helped some of you. These are just little tricks that I thought I'd, you know, show you. The next tutorial I'll be doing will be Gazette Pledge, and the song's not coming out for another couple days, but so the video was on YouTube for a couple days, and I managed to listen to that
So it's not gonna be perfect as always. It's just gonna be whatever I can make out. But that should be coming within a couple days, maybe even later today. I'm not sure. Okay. So hope this helped some of you beginners, and good luck.